So hi, everybody. We are going to get started. We are expecting a few more folks, but we'll let them into the room as they come in. I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Brian Cofrancesco. I'm the head of education and the Kid Governor program at the Connecticut Democracy Center at Connecticut's Old State House. I'm joined today by my colleague, Samantha Gorski. Sam, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, like Brian said, my name is Samantha Gorski, and I'm one of the Kid Governor assistants here at the Connecticut Democracy Center. I'm the person behind all the social media, and then I help with programming and all that.
Thank you, and we'll both be presenting to you today, and we're really happy you're able to join us for this first session in our week of educator workshops. This one will focus on an introduction to the program and give you an overview as to how everything works. But before we start with that, just a little bit background on who we are. Our organization, the Connecticut Democracy Center, is based out of Hartford at the historic Old State House. And our mission is to provide people with a lifetime pathway to active citizenship and the tools to take informed civic action. So we do that in our case through the Kid Governor program, but we also do that through educational and tour programs here at the Old State House, as well as the Connecticut History Day program for middle and high schoolers. And then our nonprofit also runs the Connecticut Network, which is a television station that provides gavel-to-gavel coverage of our state government. So we take the historic context, the contemporary context, and bring it all together to inspire citizens today. But today we're here to talk about Kid Governor, and I want to thank all of you for being here and those who will be watching this after the fact. I also need to make sure we thank our two partners, the State Department of Education and the Connecticut Council for the Social Studies, and our funding and partners who help us year-round. That's Connecticut Humanities and the Galicki Family Foundation, who've all made this possible. So if you are not familiar with Zoom, which I imagine most of you are, we're going to ask you for now to keep yourselves muted, and you are welcome to keep your cameras on or off, whatever you're comfortable with. On the bottom left of your screen is where you will find the microphone button where you can mute and unmute yourself. And if you have any questions that come to mind during the program, during this webinar, you can ask them in the chat, and then at the end, we'll allow you to turn your microphone on if you'd like to ask them out loud. We are recording this webinar just as a heads up, so you'll be YouTube famous. This will go up in the next day or two and be shared with teachers who weren't able to make it today. So thank you again, and with that, we are going to get started. Okay, so thank you again. Today's workshop is an overview and introduction to Connecticut's Kid Governor. So some of you on the call I know have been on with us for many years. Others of you might be participating for the first time. So we hope this gives you an overview and some information you may not have known about the program and how it works. So the goals for today's particular workshop is we will provide you with a really quick overview and history of the Kid Governor program and how it works. And then we are going to go into the details of our resources like our toolkits and the nuts and bolts of how to participate in your school. We'll give you the dates for the program timeline so you know how everything will flow this fall. And then I'll pass it over to Samantha, who will give you a tour of the Kid Governor website and the digital resources that we provide. And then we're very fortunate today to have some educators with us who are the practitioners who bring this program to life in their schools. So we'll hear from them towards the end, and then we'll have a section on question and answer. Our two educators who will introduce later on in today's webinar are Kristin Bernier, who's the principal of Thomaston Center School in Thomaston, and Kristen Long, who's a 5th grade teacher at Pulaski Elementary School in Meriden. So thank you, Kristin and Kristen, for being with us, and we look forward to hearing from you in a little bit. So a brief history of the Kid Governor program. Samantha and I, as we've said, work out of Connecticut's Old State House, which is a 1796 historic landmark in downtown Hartford. And back in 2015, we were trying to think about ways that we could bring our mission to more students. Our biggest audience here is field trip students and teachers. And as the place where history and civics intersect, we feel that we're at a really unique place to bring these two subjects to life. You know, it's often the case, not only in Connecticut, but across the country, where social studies is really a marginalized topic, and especially at the elementary level. And we wanted to find a way to not only help with that, but we were hearing from teachers about tight budgets in schools and in districts, the costs of taking field trips to the old State House. So how could we do something that would make learning this important information affordable and a little bit more realistic for teachers and for their students? It was also around this time that the College Career and Civic Life, or C3 frameworks, were catching steam nationwide. They had just been approved, and Connecticut was one of the first states to adapt them into their own statewide frameworks, the social studies frameworks, which were also approved in 2015. And as some of you may remember, 5 years ago now, we were in the midst of debates and discussions and major news about the upcoming 2016 presidential election. And that really kept voting and elections and government in the forefront of people's mind. And there was this new national call for improved civics education. And we also learned, and we're still finding, that there is a really limited amount of civics programming for elementary school students. And whereas civics becomes a topic later in high school and sometimes in middle school, there was really an opportunity for us to provide something for Connecticut's younger students. So that led to an idea that at that time was just a little nugget and seemed really far out there, to why not have kids learn civics by doing? And so we had this concept for a statewide election for a youth leader of Connecticut. But we of course don't believe in operating in a bubble, and we are very collaborative in our approaches here. And we wanted to create something that would actually be useful to teachers. So we held several focus groups with teachers, with administrators, with community members. On the right, you can see the very beginnings of the Kid Governor program on our very first flip chart back in 2015. And our outcomes from those conversations, which I'm sure many of you may agree with today, is that teachers were looking for an affordable program, something that was turnkey and easy to implement, especially in an elementary classroom where there are so many topics that are covered in the course of a day. Something that was specific to Connecticut, not general resources about how government works at the federal level or how it might work in your state, but something that was focused on what exactly we do here in our state. And something that was meaningful and authentic, and of course connected to curriculum, which is what we fully believe in, is that we want to do everything we can to make it tied to what you're already teaching. And after many discussions and calls and internal conversations, felt that 5th grade was really the perfect age, not only based on where many students were learning civics, but also where they had the maturity to participate in such an election with real consequences. And so enters the Kid Governor program. We launched it September 9th of 2015, and we launched it as a pilot program, really unsure of where it would go or in what direction it would head. And in that first year, we had over 1,100 registered students participate and 7 students who chose to run for Kid Governor statewide. And so as we approach our 5-year anniversary, we're looking at a much larger participation pool, where last year we had over 6,000 student voters from 51 towns across Connecticut. So we continue to grow year to year. So if you're brand new to the program, what is Connecticut's Kid Governor? It is a statewide program that takes place in school or from home if it's a student who is homeschooled and withdrawn from a school district, from public or private schools, and it is exclusively for 5th graders. Because we believe in access to this really important and meaningful experience, it is a free program, and it's designed to be really immersive and authentic by having an actual election for a student Kid Governor. And it is a real election with real consequences. It's not a governor for a day program, or you get into office and it's an easy ride. It is a 1-year term that a student is elected to serve, where they serve an active leadership role and they work to achieve a platform that they design while they're a candidate for Kid Governor. It is open to all schools in Connecticut, and schools, as we'll talk about, can participate in one of 2 ways, either by nominating a candidate to run for Kid Governor and voting in the election, or just voting in the Connecticut's Kid Governor statewide election. So depending on how much time you have to give to the program, we have 2 ways that you're able to participate. And as we'll talk about in a few minutes, it is aligned with the Connecticut Social Studies frameworks, the Connecticut Core Standards, and the Red, White, and Blue Schools Civics Program, which is a partnership with the Department of Education and the Secretary of State's office. So just a couple pictures to show how the program has evolved and grown over the years. The top 2 photos are our first Kid Governor, Elena Tipton, the 2016 Connecticut's Kid Governor, who ran on a platform of kindness, which was very well received during that really difficult 2016 election cycle. And it was really well received by students and adults, which was something we weren't necessarily expecting in the first year of a pilot program. With Elena's work, we were able to build relationships not only with schools and with students, but as you can see with elected officials. Probably one of the first kids to ask Governor Malloy if he could take a selfie with them. And in the bottom left, you'll see our next Kid Governor, Jessica Broxham, who helped generate that same excitement with relationships with folks like Secretary of the State, Denise Merrill. And as the program grew, and you'll see also in the bottom right, it's attracted media attention, which is really, I think, one of the most unique parts of this program, because and it's not about the media attention it shows on the program, but it's showing that kids can make a difference. And especially during election cycles, people want to break from what they're reading and they're hearing to hear something really positive. And so we're really fortunate that every year, all the major news networks will cover the election of the next Kid Governor, which shows the impact these kids are making on not only kids, but on the broader community. And we've also been able to forge relationships with federal officials. On the left, our 2018 Kid Governor, Megan Kasparowski, meeting with Senator Richard Blumenthal in his office down in Washington, where she traveled to talk with Connecticut's delegation about her platform of helping people with cancer. And on the right, in our new norm right now with virtual learning and virtual meetings, Congresswoman Johanna Hayes held a kids town hall meeting where our 2020 Kid Governor Myra Stanfield, right here in the center, helped preside and was also joined by one of our cabinet members, Ariana Moreno. And they talked with other students and Congresswoman Hayes about important issues that are facing kids right now. And much to our unexpected forecast of where this would go, the Kid Governor program has gained attention nationwide as well. So on the left, you'll see last year's Kid Governor, Ella Briggs, who appeared on the Little Big Shots show with Melissa McCarthy. It's a national show on NBC this past spring, sharing her Pride, Hope, Love platform for LGBTQ youth. And on the right, our 2017 Kid Governor, Jessica Broxham, in New York City, where she accepted an award as the National Kid of the Year from the ASPCA. So it really shows that not only are these students inspiring each other, but they're making their messages heard on a statewide and even nationwide platform. And we're proud to say that as the program has gained notoriety, it has also gained some recognitions. So we received the 2017 Medallion Award from the National Association for Secretaries of State, which is now a partner with the Kid Governor program. And in 2016, a Leadership in History Award from the American Association for State and Local History. And what we also feel is important is that this program isn't just about the student who wins. It's really about student action. So 2 years ago, excuse me, we introduced the Kid Governor's Cabinet component, where the runners-up from our statewide election serve a leadership role as well. So you can see Kid Governor Myra with her cabinet on the left at her inauguration, and the students meet periodically throughout the year, every other month or every 2 months, to work on their own platforms and update each other and really build a connection as statewide leaders. And then fast forward a few months, you can see on the right their new meeting format as they met virtually to still conduct business and work together earlier this summer. And then in 2017, the course of our program changed drastically. Dennis Richardson, who at the time was Secretary of State of Oregon, was at a conference with our Secretary of the State, Denise Merrill, who told him all about the Connecticut's Kid Governor program, and his office reached out to bring the program to their state. And so we were only 2 years into our program and immediately catapulted to a national program. And so in 2017, we rolled out our first affiliate program in Oregon in partnership with the Secretary of State's office. And then in 2018, the New Hampshire's Kid Governor program in partnership with the Institute for Civics Education and the Institute of Politics at St. Anselm College. So whereas this started as a small little pilot program and brainstorm here in Connecticut, we're very fortunate that it's now in 2 other states, and we have conversations with organizations across the country about bringing it to their states as well. And so as we approach our 5-year anniversary in just a few weeks, we've now had 32,000 kids from all around the country participate in the Kid Governor program. And our 2020 Kid Governors, just to help you put some faces to the states, we have Myra Stanfield here in Connecticut on the platform of Standing Up for Animals in Need, Susie Brand in New Hampshire on the platform of Children's Health and Time Outdoors, and Raga Mandala from Oregon on transitioning homeless into permanent housing. So all types of issues the students are addressing. So how does the Kid Governor program actually work? So there are 2 ways, as I mentioned, that classes can participate. Either nominating a candidate and voting in the statewide election, or just voting in the statewide election. If your class chooses to nominate, you receive what we call toolkits. So it's a PDF with 15 lessons in it. And the lessons in the nominating and voting toolkit focus on the 3 branches of government: leadership, voting, identifying and researching issues, developing action plans and platforms, holding primaries in schools to find your single student nominee, and then how to film a campaign video, and how to finally elect the student who will serve as the next Kid Governor. The voting only toolkit is more condensed and takes place over a shorter period of time. That's 7 lessons that focus on the 3 branches of government: leadership, voting, and elections, and then how to vote and choose the next Kid Governor. And so both options are free, and they each have their own set of resources, all with the same mission and same alignments, similar alignments to curriculum, but all depending on how much time you're able to give to the program and what you and your students are interested in doing. So taking the advice and the recommendations of the educators we spoke with, our lesson plans are all very much Connecticut focused. We wanted it to be a reflection on what we do here in our state. So I will quickly show you a preview of our toolkits so you have an idea of what you can find on our website. And on our teacher and class resources page, you can find both versions of the toolkits. And today we're going to focus on the nominating and voting document. And you'll see inside a full table of contents, which when you download the document is clickable, so you can easily navigate to different lessons throughout the toolkit. And I'm going to skim over a lot of the introduction section. You can also learn about our current Kid Governor, Myra, and her cabinet, with little bios of each of the students who's currently serving in the Kid Governor's cabinet. About our past Kid Governors and the impact that they've made during their terms. And then we have our curriculum connections, as I mentioned. So if you'd like to demonstrate to your administrator or fulfilling your lesson plans how you are making connections to what you should be teaching, you can find connections to the grade 5 social studies frameworks, and then the connections to the Connecticut core curriculum standards. We have few pages of those, so make sure you take a look, and it talks about how each activity within the program fulfills those specific criteria. And then we fast forward to just give you an idea of how one of the lessons works. So we're going to quickly show you lesson 1, which is the longest of the lessons that we have, but it gives a really good summary of how the different components of this toolkit work together. So each lesson starts with a lesson plan, which has been designed by our team of museum educators, and includes goals and objectives, and then the specific procedures on how to run the program. Now, this toolkit is designed for in-class teaching of the program, But tomorrow we will be talking about the resources available for how you can teach this virtually or hybrid. But we do have the lesson along with the materials, which are all included. And there are evaluation options for several of the lessons if you're looking to evaluate what your students have learned. We do have worksheets, all provided. In this case, it's a knowledge tracker for what students know, want to know, and have learned about the 3 branches of government. And then, as I've mentioned, all of our information is very much Connecticut specific. So in this lesson, students learn about the 3 branches by reading about them and then seeing pictures of the people who are currently serving in those positions. So as you can see here, for the executive branch, we showed the 6 executive officers and their names. And especially if these students in your class follow along with the program throughout the year, they may get a chance to hear from them at the inauguration or in videos that we'll be providing. So it's a good chance for them to really get to know the names of the people who not only may they meet, they may be hearing about in the news as well, especially during an election cycle. And then we also have worksheets within our lessons. So here is one on the 3 branches of government, which students can complete as they're reading about each branch. And not only do we have the worksheets spelled out all for you, we also provide answer keys where appropriate. So everything is in one easy document for you to flip through and print and provide to your students or for you to use yourself. And then each of the, actually mostly the first lessons, all have a section towards the end with additional resources. So other things, if you're looking for more information or other tools that are out there, we've provided those for you. So that's how the lesson plans and the toolkits work. We have a lesson sequence. This is the one for the nominating document. So if you are participating with your class and you want to nominate a student to run for Kid Governor, in week 1, the lessons focus on state government, the role of the governor, leadership, and elections. So it's kind of the foundational core information about how state government and civics work in Connecticut. And then week 2 is where students start to identify and research a community issue. So it's really focused on inquiry that they want to see changed. And this is the part that starts to get into what the Kid Governor program is. Students identifying a community issue, researching it, and then developing a platform of action that will become their campaign platform. So that's what's focused on during week 2. In week 3, they build out their platforms with 3 points or 3 ways that other students can make a difference around that issue. They make campaign speeches, and then they hold primaries and vote within their schools to nominate one student who they will nominate to the statewide election. And then towards the end of October, classes in week 4 film their campaign video, submit them to us, and then in early November, right around when we're going to the polls, for election day, students will have their statewide election, and they will vote from a pool of 7 finalists who will serve as their next Kid Governor. As I mentioned just a moment ago, we do have some new resources for fall in order to help support you in teaching this program in a hybrid setting or in a virtual setting. And we've had some conversations this summer with educators from across Connecticut, several of you who are on today, to get ideas and suggestions for how to best run this program virtually. So if you can join us tomorrow, on Tuesday will be session 2, Running Kid Governor in a blended and virtual classroom. And we will talk about the specific resources that we've created to adapt the toolkits. So Google Slides, forms. Samantha's putting together some really cool Bitmoji classrooms for kids to explore, Flipgrid, new videos, and a lot more. So we will have much more to share about how you can teach this program in a different type of environment if you're not in person. Then we move into a real statewide election, which is the most authentic part of this program, is that kids are actually casting votes and electing students who will serve as their next Kid Governor. On the left is an example of the ballot, which has been designed to reflect the Connecticut ballot that we use as adults. And then you can see some students in Waterbury on the right who were participating in their voting day, going to the ballot box, completing their ballot, and then submitting it. Just to give you an idea of where we are statewide, this was last year's participation map. Again, over 6,000 students from 51 towns, and we are still growing and getting the word out. So I share this so you can keep in mind that this is much farther beyond the borders of just your school, and help your students understand that when they vote for Kid Governor, they're joining thousands of kids from communities all across our state. And if you see a town that's white, you can be assured it's one that we're working really hard to bring this free program to. But if you have a town that you'd like to see this get to, or if you have a connection you'd like to share, please reach out to us. Again, it's a free program, so we're doing everything we can to get it into schools across Connecticut. And there are so many reasons we feel it's important to participate in this program, but just some of the big ones in that this is really an immersive and authentic opportunity for kids to experience civics in a meaningful way. And there's always the chance that one of your students will make it into the statewide election. They may even get to attend Inauguration Day if they are one of the 7 finalists. And it's really a great tool for free civics learning and teaching kids about informed action in their classroom. And this year in particular, as we face another really big and media and news heavy presidential election, where kids are going to be hearing about elections every day in the news or at home, it's a great opportunity to give them the context for what they're hearing about and how elections work. So our timeline for this year, September 28th is when we recommend beginning lessons if you are nominating and voting a student, nominating and voting class, excuse me. And then the campaign video for your student nominee would be due to us on Thursday, October 22nd. And I'll go over that in just a moment. October 26th, which is a Monday, is when we recommend starting classes if you are just planning on voting in the statewide election. And the election this year will be November 2nd, which is the day before Election Day, through November 10th, which is through the following Tuesday. So we provide a Monday through a Tuesday, keeping in mind some schools may have vacation days for Veterans Day and for Election Day. And the following week is when we will announce our newly elected Kid Governor, who will be inaugurated tentatively January 15th, 2021 at Connecticut's Old State House. So I want to just give you a quick overview of the process of nominating a candidate if this is new to you. When nominating a candidate, you are able to nominate 1 student per school, and that's our way of being able to come up with a system where every school has very clear guidelines as to how many that they can nominate. And so we can ensure broad participation across the state. The past few years, we've had around 30 or 31 students who are nominated, and we're looking forward to growing that number this year during such a big election year. Candidates and voters must be in 5th grade, and they have to have, as I've said, a 3-point plan of action, which is at the core of their campaign platform. A community issue, a problem they want to solve, and 3 ways that 5th graders can make a difference on that platform. They'll work with their classmates to create their campaign video and help perfect their platform. And their video is going to have to talk about why they want to serve as Connecticut's Kid Governor and what leadership qualities they have for that. And of course, they must have permission. And we have forms that will be posted online, permission from their parent or guardian, their teacher, and their school principal. This is just a sampling of some of the past campaign topics that students have run on. There are countless more. It's a really impressive thing to see all the videos come in and see the issues and the variety of topics that kids are interested in addressing, and really the power of giving kids that voice. So I encourage you to head to our website, and Sam will show you this page in just a few minutes, but you can take a look at some of the past elections and the videos and what students have put as the center of their platforms. So making the video, just a couple important points, which are also outlined in our online resources. In your campaign video, students can only use their first name. They can't use their last name, school, or town. And that's to put all kids on an equal playing field. No one knows where you're from or what your town is. They only know your name and what you're running for. We want to make it as equitable as possible. And by that same token, we also don't allow any campaigning per se. The only campaigning is us sharing the videos with students online. The video, as I said, must include why they want to be Kid Governor, their leadership qualities, and their platform and 3-point plan of action. Videos can be anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes, and we've spelled out the different types of formats that we will accept. Of course, we please ask you to be careful. Copyrighted music and images are not allowed because these will all be published pretty widely on the internet. The toolkits have worksheets that guide students through creating their platform, so please take a look at those carefully, and they all build on each other to help students narrow down and focus in on their platform. So this is the final one that helps students really perfect their 3 points. And this becomes a script that they can use if they choose when recording their video. It helps them spell it all out and put their ideas on paper, or this year into a Google form or into a Google slide. And we do believe in collaboration, and that happens when people run for office as an adult. We know that's a really important part of every classroom, and so we encourage you to have all students in your class work together to support the nominee from your school. The toolkits outline 6 campaign committees that you can use to make it more exciting. I've seen some schools do it in an incredible way where kids are all working collaboratively, everyone's off doing their own thing, but coming together to do what's best for their candidate. And we are working on adapting the campaign committees so that if you would like some of them to function virtually this year, we'll have some suggestions for how you can do that. And if you are available this Wednesday, the 3rd session of our workshop series will be on tips for a successful campaign video. And that'll include tips from us, a little bit of interacting as a group, and then we'll hear from some teachers with tips from what they've experienced running the Kid Governor program. Nominee videos are due Thursday, October 22nd this year at 5 o'clock. And we'll list online, and you can see on your screen everything that's due, the entry forms, the releases, headshot, photo, and video. And everything will be submitted as it was last year via Google Forms. So there's one form, you can enter all the information, upload your forms, and it's good to go. Unfortunately, late submissions we cannot accept because we move right from that evening into evaluating them and getting things ready for the final 7 to be posted shortly after. So if you have questions or run into problems, please let us know as soon as possible. And you can always submit your videos ahead of time if you'd like. And we will confirm that everything has been received. And then we run into our statewide election, where we announce the final 7 students statewide. We remind you that classes must register by Friday, October 30th, which is the last school day before the election begins. And at that time, or when the election starts, the 7 kids and their videos will be posted online for you to show your students. And we are working on different ways that kids can access the videos this year, depending on if they have access to YouTube on their school devices, as well as if you are in person with them or if they are watching from home. I mentioned the ballot that we provide digitally that does lay out the candidates, but also makes it look like the Connecticut ballot that we all know. And we also provide a rubric of sorts for kids to really think through the campaign videos and evaluate the passion of the students, the leadership skills, how realistic their platform is, and things like that. Because we want them to really think critically. It's not about who's wearing a cool shirt or has a great hairdo that day. It's really about the quality of their campaign platform and what they're putting forward. And then we will announce the elections the following week. We want to build excitement around this and authenticity and get the kids pumped up. So we do an announcement in collaboration with the winner school. It's been in person in the first 5 years, and we'll see what we're able to do this fall. This is Ella Briggs when she learned that she had been elected. We usually do a school-wide assembly, and we film a breaking news video segment with a local media anchor from one of the major stations, and then Secretary of State Denise Merrill or someone from her office will announce the results, and we show those live to the students to announce the winner. So because of the support we have from the bigger community, we can make it a very inspiring and exciting day for not only the kids there, but the kids who are watching online. And then the Kid Governor's term, a very quick overview of what the student does as Kid Governor. They do have responsibilities that go throughout the entire year, and it's important to understand these before you have a student go ahead and run because there's a lot that is expected of them. First is attending Inauguration Day, which will be tentatively at the old State House in person if we can in Hartford. And that's a really great day where we have elected officials, dignitaries, students from across the state, and not only the Kid Governor, but the 6 finalists and their home classes who convene on the old State House for a big celebration and the official inauguration of the Kid Governor. They work with our team at the Connecticut Democracy Center to achieve their 3-point platform, and that starts in January and runs through December. They'll create resources, videos, tools, and other materials to inspire kids across the state, particularly 5th graders, to take action on their platform. Now that the cabinet has become so successful and those cabinet members are doing just as much as the Kid Governor is on their own, the Kid Governor will lead cabinet meetings regularly, and in the fall they will do a library circuit to visit libraries across the state. So Kid Governor Myra will be doing 5 or 6 virtual library programs this September with different communities all around Connecticut to share her platform and get kids excited about the next election. They also write blog posts and do programs and events and get to meet with elected officials to really encourage action around their platform and meaningful change. The Kid Governor does have an office at Connecticut's old State House. This is the historic governor's office, which was the private office of Connecticut's governors from 1820 until 1878. And now it serves as the office for our kid governors. So the student has a desk at the center, as you can see. Their portrait hangs on the wall behind them, and lots of activities for visitors to the old State House and students and school groups to look at when they come, including our newest exhibit at the center, which is the cabinet meeting table. And now visitors can see the nameplates for each of the cabinet members and read the bios and information about each cabinet member's platform when they visit. And then we have Inauguration Day, just a couple of photos from this past year. We were fortunate to have Governor Lamont, Lieutenant Governor Bysowitz, Secretary Merrill, Treasurer Wooden, Commissioner of Education Cardona, and other elected officials, Supreme Court justices, and folks who came to recognize Kid Governor Myra. And each year we have about 150 to 200 people in attendance for that day. And then, of course, they preside over their cabinet, which I think is one of the most critical parts of the program now, in that it's not just about the kid who's elected, it's about all kids taking action and getting involved in their communities. So the 6 runners-up, the finalists, do play an active role, and they're invited to attend meetings and to work on their platforms themselves. So I do hope you'll join us. Our next session, or our session this Thursday, on the will be focused on beyond the election, year-round Kid Governor and civics opportunities. So we will talk about how your student nominee and others from your school, as well as the Kid Governor program, and the Kid Governor itself, can help provide you with content and meaningful learning experiences beyond just that statewide election. So now I'm going to pass it over to Samantha Gorski, who is going to walk you through the Kid Governor website and show you some of the digital resources that we have available to you online.
All right, let me just get this up. There we go. So we have our official Connecticut's Kid Governor website, which is going to be one of the best places for you to find any information or all the information that you need for our program. Our homepage here gets updated minimum once a month, but once the program gets started, it's more or less updated every single week with new information, updates, timelines, pretty much everything you need to know to be able to plan your schedule for how you're going to incorporate Kid Governor into your classroom. Just by clicking over onto the menu over here, we have a quick link to the registration, which is right here on the website. It takes about 2 minutes to do if you haven't done it already. In the About tab, you can find all the information about the program, why it's important, how you can participate. The new brochure just got published today, so you can find that there and download that if you're interested. You can also find our distance learning resources, which are going to be updated as we keep going. and all of that. You can also find information about our current Kid Governor, Myra. So you can find links to her blog, which also features blog posts from the Kid Governor's cabinet members. I think we have a post from almost every single kid this year, which is fantastic. And you can also click through to learn more about the cabinet members as well, since it is really more than just about the Kid Governor. It's about all the kids and how they're getting involved. So you can find out more about them all right here. You can also find the teacher resources over here as well. So like Brian showed earlier, where you can find your toolkits, and we'll have all the other resources located right here on this page. That'll be easy to find and labeled for nominating and voting classes or voting only classes. You can also learn more about things your students can do. So we have our Student Action Resource Center, where students can learn more about what community issues are, how to write to their elected officials in real life, and it gives them templates and other important information and things to help guide them through the program and how they can take action on their own. We also have a Kid Governor's Library, which is full of civics books and other books recommended by our Kid Governors and our staff across the country to help you find other books to include in your classroom library for story time or to recommend for students for independent reading. We've tried to give brief overviews of all of the books, what the book style is, if it's great for independent reading or for group reading, and where we can put it. We have the Lexile measures as well if you use that to help where your students are supposed to be reading. On the website, you can also find out about the past Kid Governors. So we have our Hall of Kid Governors. You can click through and learn more about each of these students. But you can even go further and go back to the past elections as well. And you can find out about each of the 7 candidates, the nominees from each year, what the election results were, and other resources that were available, as well as who the photo contest winner was that year. You can also find a link to the national page here, how to support us if you're interested or know someone who wants to support us. And you can also find our contact information here as well. So everything from the Kid Governor's email address to if you need Brian, Jacob, the other Kid Governor assistant, or myself. It's all easy in one spot. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us and we're happy to try and answer. That then brings us over to our social media. So we are on pretty much everything. If you don't follow us already, you can add us on Facebook, Connecticut's Kid Governor, where we post very regularly or as regularly as possible with all the information you need, plus any updates about the Kid Governor's terms or about past students who have been involved. So over the past few months, we've had a lot of stuff for Myra. So she was just on NBC Connecticut this morning. So we'll have some more stuff on that coming out soon. But we got to have one of their exclusive videos go up on our social media. Excuse me. We'll have some stuff coming out about Riley, who is on the 2018 cabinet. Who is working on fostering friendships. So she got to be featured in the news, so she'll be featured on our social media, and you can always find updates once the program gets started about what deadlines are coming up, any resources that we just released, all of that. You can find the same thing with our Twitter at CTKG, so you'll find all of the updates, like a reminder for our sessions this week for the workshop. We're also on Instagram, so you can find some slightly less regular resources, updates, and all that, but you can find all the information, and we'll usually give you a link to where to go to learn more. And then, of course, most important, we're also on YouTube, and we're working on other ways to get videos out for students who might not have access to YouTube, but you can find all of the candidate videos. You can find updates from each student's term in their own playlist. Myra here, you can see, has her own playlist here, but also her educational videos are all in one space. So if you want to suggest those to your students as something to watch, they're all easy and organized for you to find. We also have our informational video on the channel, so if you want to share with your district what the program is all about, you can share that video. If you want to take any initiatives to add to your classroom, like spreading kindness, the 2016 Kid Governor Elena did a whole video series on spreading kindness over the past few months. So pretty much everything you ever could possibly need will be on the website or our social media accounts. I think that's it.
Excellent. Thank you, Samantha. Okay, so we are now it's now time to hear from our educators, those who are helping to make this program possible across the state. So I'd like to introduce our two speakers tonight who will each give a couple minutes of remarks about why they participate in the program and really the value they see in it and in their students. And I'll introduce you both and let you decide who would like to go first. One of our speakers will be Kristin Bernier, who is the principal at Thomaston Center School in Thomaston. It's a grades 4 through 6 intermediate school, and she's been teaching for 25 years and has been an administrator for 12 of those years. And this will be her school's 5th year participating in the Connecticut's Kid Governor program. And we also have Kristen Long, who's a 5th grade teacher at Casimir Pulaski Elementary School in Meriden. She's been teaching for 17 years, and this will be her 4th year teaching Connecticut's Kid Governor. So welcome to Kristen and Kristen, and I will invite you both to speak and to share your insights.
I think I'm going first. And I actually, as I was sitting here, it's my 5th year.
Oh,
the first year I did a vote only. And I think it was the first time, so we wanted to see what it's about. And then after that, for the next 3 years, we've done the nominating of a candidate. And why do I do it? My students in my classroom, their world is very, very small. It's usually their neighborhood or maybe, a little bit further out to the city, but they're not travelers. They're not kids who go very far. So this really is an opportunity for them to think about the world globally, as well as nationally, and then bring it to state and back to them. They're watching things on the news that they don't necessarily think that impacts them. And when we start saying, well, what does that look like in our community? If you're talking about like homelessness, what does that look like in our community, and how can that change? I think that the children have taught me more than anything else. They've come up with amazing issues that are personal to them. One of my students did children literacy, and it was a child who struggled to read as well as to speak, so it was very near and dear to his heart. And last year, our candidate was mental health and suicide prevention, and she happened to have that happen in her family. So these things are connecting them to real world problems, allowing them to have a safe community within their classroom to discuss their platform and their feelings and what they think, and hear from their peers of how they can help. It really motivates them. For both candidates, with the one with the literacy campaign, has branched out to our community, doing little libraries. We have book collections. I have books runneth over out in my closet right now to stuff in the little libraries. And the other one had children making bracelets and, really talking and raising money. So it doesn't just stop with, learning about the 3 branches of government. It really, really gets them to think about their community and how they can help, and that they have a voice and what they say means something. And that really seeing that flicker of empowerment sort of spreads like wildfire, because I had 13 candidates run from my classroom last year, and every one of them continued their campaign even though they didn't win, where they were meeting with administrators or outside. So it's a very powerful program, and everything is there for you. And I can't say enough of how much this has opened up the world to my students. Going to you, Kristen.
Absolutely. I would wholeheartedly 150% agree with what Kristen said. As a former social studies and language arts teacher, the program itself is top notch. I mean, it's very well prepared, very well written, and it's easy to execute. It's one of those things that you can take, and it's vetted really quite well. It's an award-winning program. So you feel confident in taking that time. I know that it does, if you choose to nominate a candidate, which I encourage everybody to do, it does take time. It says 15 lessons, but it does take a lot of time. And what's great about that is you can also connect it with other subject areas, and it becomes a whole grade level, whole community kind of program while this is going. And the kids who you know, are coming into 5th grade now. This is our 5th year, and they're excited about it. And they say, are we going to do Kid Governor? You know, are we going to, and it has become a highlight. It's a fabulous opportunity to teach and learn about civics and democracy at work. It's a good community building project, and it shows the students that they can make a difference and they can be the change that they want to see in the world. And you know, the effects, it's a ripple effect all across, you know, the state, and as Brian showed us, the nation too. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. I do want to give you the tip of start early. You know, you're going to need more time to create a video than you think you're going to need. You know, in Thomaston, we ask the high schoolers who do the AV program at the high school to help create our video. So it becomes a huge community event for us. It's not just, you know, in our little 5th grade classroom. It becomes a much bigger. But start early and take a look at the timeline and, you know, work backwards, because you're going to need that time. I think especially this year with so much unknown. But it's so well worth the investment for sure. Thanks.
Thank you both. You know, you guys, you sell it so well, and it's really wonderful to hear that everything that we're trying to put together and encourage is really happening in the school setting. So thank you for sharing those stories and for being such big supporters of the program. It's what helps it continue year after year.
Can I give some unsolicited advice?
Always.
Just to bring back to your districts, have the traveling exhibit come to your school in the spring, and encourage the 4th grade teachers to have them come down and view it and talk about it, because they hear about it in September and they kind of forget. So having it come back in the spring really sort of sparks that interest again. So I know that the 4th graders from my school last year are super pumped about, you know, showing up to school and doing it.
And I know both Pulaski and Thomaston have hosted the traveling exhibit. And if you aren't familiar with it, thanks to the support of Connecticut Humanities, we're able to put together an exhibit with individual panels about each of the students who ran for Kid Governor. And it's in their own words. It's their picture and their explanation of their platform, their community issue, how others can support their platform. And it's done free of charge to the students. They just submit the information. We create the exhibit, have the panels professionally designed, and then we send it out to schools across the state. I'm very excited to announce that despite the fact that COVID has, you know, kept the exhibit on hiatus for a little bit, it is now up at Bradley Airport, where it will be for, it's been there for August, it'll be there for September. And then we have printed 2 new copies of it. One is here at the old State House on the fence. We've had it reproduced on outdoor durable material for people in downtown Hartford to see. And it will be able to travel to schools this fall and libraries on that durable material. So if a school wants to host it, they'll be able to put it outside or inside, but also be able to sanitize it without destroying the panel. So keep that in mind if your school's interested in hosting. And that is hopefully what we'll be able to get funding to do again for the next exhibit for the kids who run this year.
And if you're interested in sharing it with your district right now, it's available in a virtual format on our website. So you can share that with your administrators, with your fellow 5th grade teachers. You can send it along to the 4th grade teachers if you're interested. Whoever wants to look at it, it's right there in a digital format.
So we have a little bit of time left, and so Samantha has been pulling in questions from the chat, as well as some questions that were pre-submitted to us through registration, and from teachers who weren't able to join us today. So I'm going to pass it over to Samantha to ask some of the questions, either of our staff or some may be for Kristen and Kristen.
Well, I'm going to pull this question first since it connects back to what Kristen B. was saying about getting the high schoolers involved. Brian, are there any other ways that other grade levels can get involved or the other schools in town?
Absolutely. So, and a couple of these you'll be able to hear about later this week in Thursday or Friday's webinar. In Windsor, they actually have their high school AP government class help teach portions of the Kid Governor program. So their high school students review the toolkits, They condense the lessons and they come up with 2 or 3 that they can deliver in person, and then 2 or 3 that they do via screencast. And they make several visits to the school to not only teach the lessons, but then they help the student who has been nominated for their school. So they work with them in a campaign team to help with their platform and their video, and it becomes a community-wide event, just like Kristen was talking about. There's also opportunities for you to engage, as Kristen Long was saying, the younger students. Some schools have their 4th graders learn about Kid Governor in the spring through either the traveling exhibit, or as you'll hear tomorrow, one school that brought in elected officials to talk to kids in June at the end of the year to get them thinking about the summer and the ways they could work on their thinking through their platform. And some actually teach the civics lessons at the end of 4th grade so that the kids are ready to go on the civic action piece come fall. And one idea we were working on this year, and it might be challenging if schools are hybrid or virtual, but was encouraging that the 4th graders help manage the polling place. So we have a bonus lesson that you'll be able to find on our website where we tell you how to set up a polling location in your school. So the ballot clerks, the tenders at the voting booth, and everything that you can make it feel like a real precinct. And having the 4th graders fulfill those roles to get them excited, and then the 5th graders are the ones who vote. So there's lots of different ways, or if it's a 5-6 school, having the 6th graders do it, since they're the ones who got to do it the year before. And it gets, like you've said, both of you have said, it gets other grades excited, and it also makes it feel more of a community experience, which is exactly what elections are.
Our next question is from Elaine, and she asks, if a teacher doesn't teach ELA or social studies, can they still run the program?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say, and I'd love to hear from the teachers about other ideas they have, but any teacher in the school, some schools do it as an after-school program, some do it with kids who are really, really interested during lunch. So the kids do the lessons in class, but then the kids who want to run work together to do their research and platform building during lunchtime. You don't have to be an ELA or a social studies teacher. That tends to be where the program fits best, but absolutely any teacher who's got that excitement and wants to bring civics in is welcome to do that. Kristen or Kristen, any thoughts?
This might be a good library media kind of program to also do. In our school, it becomes a whole 5th grade phenomenon for the first marking period. So it's everybody who touches the 5th grade has some sort of involvement, but it would also be quite nice at a language library media class.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that the after-school program would be definitely something that you could use as a way to deliver it also. With this distance learning, I think at this point, anything's possible. We can do anything.
Absolutely. I want to throw in one little anecdote. The very first school visit that I did to observe a Kid Governor program in action was to Thomaston Center School in 2016. And it was one of the most incredible experiences I ever had, because out of 66 5th graders, Kristen's school had 36 of them running for Kid Governor. And they had primaries, and they had multiple voting, and they had just debates and speeches. They finally got it down to their 6 students, and each of them had a campaign team of 10. And it was great to mill around because, as you said, Kristen, it was the whole 5th grade at once. So I went classroom to classroom to classroom. Some were in the hallways, some were in the rooms. And I remember seeing 2 things that really struck me. And one was kids seated in the hallway on their tablet, on their devices, on their computers. And I didn't realize how big Google Classroom was. And I was wondering what they were doing, because one kid was talking and the other kids were typing and not paying attention. Well, they were all in a Google document, and the 2 kids were making edits to the speech as the student was going through what he wanted to say, his script for his video. I thought that was incredible. And there was another student who was managing her campaign team. And I remember she was at a really large table, and there were 10 of them all around. and they were in the research phase and making posters. I remember her looking at one student saying, you're going to research the African elephants, you're going to research the tigers, you're going to research the giraffes, all on animal extinction. And it gave her that ability to manage a team and pull her team together and know, you guys need to research, you need to make the posters. It was such an exciting day to be there. So it really can capture enthusiasm and get your kids working together.
All right, so our next question is, does one class have to participate in the school, or so does the entire grade level have to participate, or can just one class choose to participate?
Great question, and that can vary from school to school. You can do either one. We have some schools where there is one teacher who really wants to do it, and the others don't have as much time in their curriculum or what they've got planned, and that's the one teacher from the school who does it. In others, like both Kristin's schools, actually all the classes participate and they do so together. It can be done either way. I will say if you're just the one teacher in the school who's doing it, chances are pretty high that the next year the other teachers will want to do it too once they see the excitement that it generates.
All right, and then a little bit of a rapid fire questions from Elaine. Who to contact about scheduling the traveling exhibit? You can email Jacob Orcutt at jacob.orcutt@kidgovernor.org, and he can set that all up for you. If you need to know where that is, you can find his contact on the website, and I believe it is also listed under the virtual traveling exhibit section as well, so you can bring the real life one to your school. And then jumping all the way forward to Inauguration Day, is there any funding for schools to get buses to bring their kids here to the old State House?
Really good. Yeah, do you want to chime in, Kristen?
We've gotten grants, mini grants through our town. If you have a Rotary, they would probably be more than happy to help fund for that, that transportation. But those kind of groups are sometimes sitting on some money and want to support students, and this is a great way to do that.
Absolutely, and we also work to find funding, and so we do our best to secure funds so that we can support the cost of bus expenses. Outside of the bus cost and students bringing their lunches, there is no cost to attend Inauguration Day. And I should mention, Inauguration Day is most of a school day. So kids leave shortly after arriving, get to the old State House. And not only do we have an inauguration ceremony with speeches from dignitaries, the outgoing and incoming kid governor, but we have the opportunity for students to interact and ask questions of those elected officials. So they move through the historic chambers of the old State House, and in the House of Representatives chamber, meet members of the House and the Senate from the state level. In the courtroom, meeting a Supreme Court justice. So it brings civics to life for them, and it takes up most of a school day, but there's no cost for it with the exception of transportation, and in most years we're able to provide some financial assistance. And as Kristen said, sometimes there are local groups who are also able to help support that.
All right, so our next is another pre-submitted question. Since we've been talking a lot about how the cabinet members and other students get involved afterwards, what has the Kid Governor's cabinet been doing during the pandemic?
So the Kid Governor and her cabinet have actually been quite active considering a global pandemic, and that this has been quite a challenging and emotional time for many people. I'll start with the cabinet. The cabinet held a virtual meeting earlier, was that in May, Samantha? I've lost track of time. Back in May, and most of them were all able to attend in person, and they helped choose the finalists for Myra's statewide poster contest, which continued despite the pandemic. They also learned what each other was doing on their platforms. So Ariana, who is one of Kristen Long's students who focused on suicide prevention and mental health, she had been working on her bracelets. She wrote a blog post about her platform. She also wrote a blog about how people could take care of their own mental health during this crisis, which coming from a student to students is just so powerful. We also, oh, and Ariana also attended that meeting with Congresswoman Hayes, who was her congressional representative. We have Daisy, who focused on pollution and the environment, and she did a video and tree planting challenge for Earth Day. She's written a few blog posts as well. Derek, Lucy, Kylie, all been writing blog posts and keeping their platforms moving forward. And then Myra has also remained active, presiding over her cabinet meeting. She worked with the Department of Education, and we created videos, inspirational videos for teachers and students back in the spring. And she has one going out to teachers through the Teacher of the Year Council later this month. We held a meeting, the first ever Kid Governor Summit, where the Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Oregon kids got to meet each other. And it was great to do it through Zoom without having to pay for plane tickets and moving people across the country. They were able to do it from the comfort of home and get to meet each other and learn about their platforms, what they're doing, their experiences, their shared experiences as kid governors. It was really remarkable to see. And she's been moving her platform forward. So creating videos that you may have seen released, her educational videos. And she's been working on a special program that we're going to announce in the next week or two related to her platform, a virtual adoption event. And that will happen later this month with partnering with other organizations. So she's actually been pretty active. It's like a full-time job for her. It's manageable, but for a kid, it's a great experience to, you know, have to sit down and write a blog post or think about what you want to say to students. It really helps build the leadership skills while also putting out your message for people to see.
Going back to that May cabinet meeting, the kids were also joined by some of the nominees from the past year who also were working on campaigns about animals or animal welfare. So they were able to join Myra and her cabinet in helping to pick out which of those posters were going to move forward into the contest. So really the program is, I think it's fair to say, evolving to include not just the kid governor, not just the cabinet, but all students, to really show them that you can continue to make a difference even if you don't win. Winning is great, but you can still make a difference in your community and across the state. Which is one of my favorite parts. I'm trying to get all my friends who are teachers to do the program since most of them teach 5th grade. All right, so I guess we can move on then into the next pre-submitted question, which is what are the opportunities for the students who don't win?
Do you want to take this one, Samantha, or do you want me to?
Sure, I can do it. Like I just mentioned, we have some of the nominee students who are getting involved now, so either getting invited to cabinet meetings, and of course the students can continue to work on their platforms after the election, whether they're on the ballot or not, whether they win or not. Kristen, I don't know if you'd want to talk to any of that or speak to any of that at all. But with the cabinet members, they are more than welcome and fully supported in working on their platforms as they move through the year. We've had students this year in particular really going above and beyond. And actually, I think since the cabinet really first started, going above and beyond with continuing what their platforms are. We have Derek in the current cabinet who did a food drive during the pandemic to help his local food shelter continue to have food for the community members who need it. Of course, we have Ariana, who's been doing incredible work on her platform. Kristen Long, I won't steal all of your thunder because your kids in particular have been doing great work. So I'll stop there, but there's plenty of opportunities for the kids to be civic ambassadors with everyday democracy here in Connecticut, and to really just get highlighted and continue to work on their platforms and work with other students across the state. We've helped make connections between the students and state legislators so that they have the support of their state senator or their state representative in whatever they're working on.
I said earlier that my candidates sort of take it and run with it. And it's still going on. Jason's platform was children's literacy, and it was 2 years ago, and we are still holding book drives. I had 4 boxes of books delivered to school over the summer to keep our little library going, and it's running on its own. And he has gone through and sort of became part of the Meriden Kiwanis little library family and with mom. So if that's continuing, one of the other students in my class who did not win our school nomination was inspired by Ella Briggs creating a peer-like support group within your school based on you know what I'm saying because I can't speak, and actually went and set up a meeting with our guidance counselor, school psychologist, and principal to pitch having that in our school for this, hopefully this upcoming year, even though she won't be here. So this is a child who wasn't sort of talking for herself. She's like, I would love to see this because I think it's important and I would love to see it next year, and sort of started creating that framework based off of Ella's program. So it does keep going and it's generated by them.
And I think we've seen even some towns that maybe they haven't participated in the program. We're seeing them still get involved with the students' platforms across the board. We've seen buddy benches go in. I live in Newington, Connecticut, and the elementary school closest to me has a buddy bench, which is great. And it's a nice place to sit down and in between walks with the dog. And we've seen kids really get on board with Ella's platform and bring her LGBT club or Pride Club to their schools to help support other students. We've seen the book drives happen. We've seen food drives keep happening. We have Riley in Southington, who's been working really hard on fostering friendships and continues to have those drives to get toiletries delivered. So this is really a year-round, doesn't stop when you graduate 5th grade program.
And I encourage you, if you aren't yet registered for it, to join us on Thursday for our session on Beyond the State Election, because we have a teacher from Enfield who will talk about their Kid Mayor program, which is how they recognize their student who is the finalist for their townwide primary. They do a little differently. And then we also have someone from Longmeadow Elementary School in Middlebury who will talk about the new club that they created for the students who run within their school to help support them in their platforms. And I think we have time for maybe one more question. We have 2 or 3 minutes left.
All right. For either our teacher guests or for Brian, what do you think are the community issues that students have been gravitating to the most lately?
I'll let our 2 teachers start off with what your experiences might have been.
I'm very impressed by the depth of their thought processes. You know, when we first introduced it, the issues were, you know, kid issues, things that they were grappling with. And as this has evolved and as, you know, time has gone on, the issues have gotten deeper and they reflect our society and what our society is struggling with. And it's their way of kind of processing that. So it's been really a great, wonderful thing to see. There's not one particular issue that comes to my mind, but just the depth of their thought process is incredible. And certainly with, you know, the winners of the Kid Governors and the cabinet, but also, you know, the kids who run and don't ever get to be a 7 finalist.
The one thing that I've learned is nothing is off the table. This year we had mental health and suicide prevention as our topic. It was a personal issue for this student and I was run with it, go. We had other issues where a student wanted to do racial inequality in sports in our town. So they're really getting into that meat of issues that they're hearing in the world, but bringing it back and they're seeing it and starting to make that connection like, oh, now I understand what that means. So as far as they're going to get intense, I think especially in the past 6 months, there's been a lot of upheaval in their world and they're going to come and have ways that they want to fix it. And I think these are platforms. It's not to rattle anybody. I think when Ella came out, a lot of people were like, well, wait a minute, no, go, let her run. I think these are real issues. And as adults, we can't stifle that. Just let them run because they want to solve it. They want to make it better. Every platform that a child has come to me with is 100% so they can make this issue better most of the time for someone else. So I think that with as far as the platforms are, don't be afraid, you know, to jump into those heavy issues.
I just want to tack on to everything you both said 100%, especially that they're reacting to issues that they hear. And I remember talking to a teacher out in Canton last year who said that a good number of their students focused on the environment because they were following Greta Thunberg in the news. So they were hearing about these issues in the news, and it was always continuing to stay on their mind. And to something that Kristen just alluded to was that we find that all the platforms, no matter what the topic is, kindness is what's at the center of all of it. And so I encourage you, no matter what the issue is that a kid is bringing forward, to think about the fact that it all seems to come back to kindness, and oftentimes showing kindness towards others. And it's great to see that kids are showing that empathy towards each other at such a young age.
I'd just like to add that as my role as a tour guide from time to time here at the Old State House, we have the traveling exhibit up in the building, and listening to the adult visitors who come into the building who get to see those exhibits, and we get to talk to them about what your students are doing. It blows them away. It really makes Connecticut stand out as a place where our students are very passionate, they're very empathetic, they want to help the world and make a change. And it really shows that these students are looking beyond just, oh, I want more recess, which, I mean, even Susie in New Hampshire, that's partially what her platform is, but it's more than that. It's about health and wellness, and supporting students in that way. But we're seeing the kids, they're thinking beyond more than what we think fifth graders are thinking about. And it really goes to show that, these kids are sponges. They're going to soak up everything, and they have great ideas that even, go beyond what some of the adults in the room are thinking.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you all for the questions. And I know we had some other questions we didn't have a chance to get to that were pre-submitted, and we will do our best to address those during the remaining sessions we have this week. But to wrap up, the question is, will your student be the next kid governor? And we hope that you will participate and engage with this program. You can see the 5 young ladies that we've had serve as kid governor to date, and one of your students will be the next one to serve in 2021. So in closing, I want to thank our presenters today. I really want to thank Kristen and Kristen for joining us and for sharing their experiences and for all they do to help make sure that this program remains relevant and taught in their schools. And thank you to Samantha and Jacob, who you'll meet on another session, who've been working tirelessly all summer to help pull together new resources to make sure this program is successful. And to all of you who are watching live or recorded for participating in this program and making sure that there's meaningful civics experiences available to students. Now more than ever, it's important for kids to understand not only how to make a difference in their communities, but why they should be voters when they turn 18 and what the election process is. So with that, thank you so much. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or if there's something that we can do to support you. And we hope that we will work with you and talk to you this fall with the upcoming statewide election. Have a great day, and we'll see you at our next session tomorrow.